So map number 1 of a best of 3 here, and well, a best of 3 is always good, especially when it's from the start of such an important qualifier. Spawning in the lower left hand position of Frost though, we have got the blue Terran player representing ATN. It's kauP. And his opponent to the top left, the red Zerg player, Borrex. Frost, the big 4-player map, so I have no doubt that we're going to be seeing quite a good bit of time until engagements come through. Early plays generally are going to be on the Terran side as opposed to the Zerg. Things like a Reaper expand so common in the meta game at the moment that it's highly likely that is what we'll be getting out. kauP at the moment just chucking down that supply depot, all nice and normal. Wouldn't be expecting anything else, so this is all going good at the moment. Over on Borrex's side, to be honest, our best bet is for a hatch first into a pool. Maybe hatch gas pool. It's something that a lot of Zerg players do like. The advantage of that is that you get Zergling speed out sooner, which gives you a better defense and a better map presence. The disadvantage though, your queens get out later, and that means that you miss some injects, and generally that's a bit annoying. It hurts your production slightly. So, all in all, this is looking pretty nice for an early game. It's looking nice for a game number 1, neither player doing anything crazy, and it's just settling us in to this qualifier in a good way, just nicely easing us in. For anyone just streaming or just tuning in now to the stream, of course the top 4 players in this qualifier advance into the Challenger League for Season 2. That's going to be happening next week, Tuesday through Friday, which means some awesome times. But yeah, this is obviously a long way to go yet. It's the round of 256. And that means that they've got to win a fair few best of 3s in order to get a chance at that qualification. So, going to be interested to see what these guys get up to. Lucky Scout here from the Overlord, and this Overlord actually skirting around the edge of where the supply depot's vision is. Now, that may seem like a real minor thing, but it results in kauP not instantly seeing where his opponent's spawning. However, the Reaper going to be a bit of a hero, sees the Overlord, and may get a little confused which way that came from. Looks like he is going to get a little bit confused. But when he sees that bottom right doesn't have anything there, he knows that it'll be top left. So this is really important for this Reaper. The second one also going the wrong way, buying valuable seconds for Borrex in order to mount and get up a nice defense. Remember, these seconds can make all the difference. It gives a chance for Lings to get out on the field. It gives a good shot for them to actually get into a solid defensive spot. But more importantly, it means kauP's initial Reapers don't get a chance to get any damage down before the queens pop out. And they're going to be the big unit that zones out the Reapers. Loving the use of these Lings. They're prepared for a Reaper to come bouncing on up, and they're ready to trap him if they decide to go up the cliff there. Queen at the moment just pushing it back. We've got a third queen in production up at the main. The first queen from the main just coming down the side. Up comes this Reaper, going to run straight into a couple of those Lings. But because the queen's been pulled from the main base, the hatch and all the drones there vulnerable. But more importantly, a quick scout comes down. Sees the gas, see drones have been pulled, but has also spotted for kauP that the spawning pool be a shimmering. And that means speed is on its way. Over on kauP's side, he's taking a little bit of damage here from 2 Lings. And that is going to pick off the SCV constructing the command center of the natural. That is not insignificant. This is adding in a good few seconds for kauP that, to be honest, he probably doesn't want to be losing in terms of time. Almost a kind of 15-second game delay there on the natural base timing, and both Reapers being forced to pull back. The other great thing for Borrex is that he has seen pretty much everything. Knows that there was a tech lab down, couldn't quite get into the vision to see if there was a starport, but does see that there is a command center on its way. So a fast 3cc play out of kauP, and what we need to keep an eye on now is how we see Borrex respond. Does he take his 4th base nice and fast? Obviously not yet. Does he go for a big timing push, hoping to really exploit the fact that kauP not going to have that much in the way of defense? Both are viable options, both are possibilities, and only time will tell precisely what this Zerg has in store. kauP though, we know what he's got in store. A good amount of harassment, hopefully. Couple of Hellions there, couple of Reapers. They're going to be making sure that they make some progress. This is Reaper 4 and 5 on their way over. Not quite sure where the first one got to. Must have been made before there was actually a reactor on that factory, which is a little bit strange. However, Borrex should be feeling very confident. He's got obviously 5 queens out, which is a lot higher than you normally see. He's keeping 1 queen per hatch, ready for this third to be in position, and also 2 for just creep spread. 3 queens are going to do a nice job of zoning out these Hellions, especially when we factor in that there is already 1 in transfuse available, and the second transfuse now there too. That's a lot of damage, migration, and a lot of kind of healing that you can use just to keep these units alive. So kauP not looking like he's going to get much success in order to push in here quite yet, but he's not losing anything either, and has forced a good number of speedlings. And that's ideally what he's going to be trying to do, because while no drones have been killed, he's prevented the creation of the drones by making these lings hit the field. So a little bit of proking, 1 transfuse already used. Meanwhile, over at kauP's base, he's still just producing SCVs from that 3rd CC, not yet risking floating it down. Adding in a good amount more production of this infantry, as well as a starport on its way, ready, of course, for medevac production, ready for about the 9, 10, 11 minute mark. So Bailing Nests coming through, the 1-1 melee upgrades, as well as the lair, all in construction now for Borrex. And all 3 of those being tied together fundamentally means that Borrex is getting into his mid-game as a very standard Zerg composition of Zergling, Baneling, and then probably into Mutalisks. So, the Hellions and Reapers really haven't achieved much, and if we look at the overall resources lost, it's minuscule. 1 drone and a couple of lings over on Borrex's side, and... oh no, sorry, just a couple of lings lost for Borrex. Meanwhile, for kauP, he's lost 1 worker. So this is probably the most passive early game you could ever possibly expect. Orbital Command now floating down towards that 3rd base, gets the land expanding towards his opponent, and likewise Borrex, he, despite getting the earlier scout on his opponent, opting to expand towards him. This makes the 4th base slightly safer, but also means that this base is a little bit more vulnerable. His 3rd has got a problem, because split pushes can come, there's a nice avenue for medevacs to come and drop straight in here, as well as this side entrance through. And because of this, creep spread vitally important in order to make this work. So, Queens taking a bit of damage, but moving very far forward, and the Marines coming in from the south, gonna be able to snipe one of those down, but look at how many lings there are coming. The Banelings waddling forward as well. They get some good detonations through here, but most of the Marines are able to back away. Good focus fire. Both players on 1-1 at the moment, and yeah. Still, we've got this push continuing forward, forcing a lot more lings. However, Mutalisks, more on the way. We've got a good number of additional Banelings also coming through. And by having to produce more Banelings, this is actually reducing the number of Mutalisks Borrex can produce, because his gas is getting tied up in them. And of course, Banelings, 1-hit wonder. Nice little drop coming through at this 3rd base, takes out the Queen, preventing some injects. The Mutalisks are now seen. The medevac going to be a little bit careful here, because it can get picked up on the retreat, but most of the Muta's attention at the 4th, where another drop is simultaneously occurring. Good amount of damage being done. An extractor gets taken out, which at first glance may not seem like a particularly massive takeout, but when you work out that that gas is roughly worth 100 gas per minute, that's quite substantial actually. A drop coming down at the 3rd base yet again, racking up a good number of worker kills here for kauP. The Mutalisks have now been able to pick off the drop that was heading towards the 4th, but that means they haven't pulled back in order to deal with this drop of the 3rd base. kauP getting a good amount of damage through, really able to start picking all of this apart, and he's going to be running into quite a few problems if actually Borrex is able to swing this into his favour. Going to be preparing to try and push in with these Mutalisks and get some harassment down. 1 missile turret is up, but there's 15 Mutas there, so the Marines going to be essential just to really shut this out. Nice snipe off on that refinery, bringing the Overseer with the army as well, just to make sure that any Widow Mines don't catch him off guard. The game once again stabilizing, but with kauP having quite a substantial advantage, up at 67 workers and compared to 63, and of course with the mules as well. Upgrade lead just on the side of Borrex, who's already got 2-2. +2 infantry armor about to kick in for kauP, who seems to have got a little delay trying to get his +2 infantry attack, which is only about half done at the moment. Blue Flame also coming down. We've got still just a lot of medevac being produced, but in come the Mutas now, getting some nice damage, sniping down that missile turret and also picking up a couple of worker kills. But still, only a quarter of the SCVs killed compared to the drones. And that is a bit of a problem for Borrex, because if a Terran player is on equal workers to you, only just now falling a bit behind, as well as having 3 mules, their economy is a lot better. A drop going to be heading up now towards the 4th base. It's a double drop here. And the majority of kauP's army just trying to fend off this Muta aggression for the moment. 2 missile turrets going to be trying to hold some more of that off. We've got a couple of scans coming through, just taking a peek. What kind of army is there? Where is it positioned? Sees actually not that much. Couple more Mutas hitting the field. A lot more Lings on their way through as well. But this double drop now moving on in. Picking apart one Overlord. Has to be taken out because otherwise he would have, of course, seen what was coming. Simultaneously a drop into the natural base, and kauP really trying to utilize his multi-prong attack. Main army going in towards the 3rd. The drop of the 4th base had to pick up. The drop of the natural being cleaned up by the Mutas. But this push towards the 3rd needed to be even more careful, because there is a good number of Banelings there that get some great detonations, able to take down most of the Marines. The Mutas cleaning up the drop at the 4th base as well. One lone Marine here is actually going to be a hero. Solo killing a lot of these drones. Always annoying. But yeah, 27 workers killed compared to 5. So only 7 additional workers were taken out there by kauP through that kind of 3-prong attack. Cute little Baneling hit there. He's going to be a bit of a pain, forcing an Overseer to get morphed in and another one to come over just to take it out. Creep spread also being forced back. But Borrex is not in an awful spot yet. But things really aren't going ideal for him, because a 4th base is about to be established once this Overlord that's under there gooping stuff up dies. And once a 4th base is out, it will mean that kauP is on level bases with Borrex. And as a Zerg player, you always want to be 1 base up. But this Mutaflock is mighty scary unless it flies over a big group of Marines at 2-2. Backing on out. 3-3 is on its way out for kauP here. Whereas Borrex can't yet start 3-3 because his hive isn't finished. And this is very normal. It's expected. Generally, Zerg players do start falling behind on the 3-3 upgrades up against Terran, exactly because of the hive requirement, whereas once the armory's out for 2-2, 3-3 can start immediately. Quick little takedown of these missile charges. There are a grand total of 26 Mutalisks there, making short work of those static defenses when they are being repaired. Along the right-hand side of the map, we've got a good number of Banelings preparing to get some aggression down, and kauP really not doing much at the moment. Instead, just playing a bit more defensively, a bit more reactively, and waiting to see if his opponent is going to make a slip-up. Remember, going into the late game is where things can get very, very important, because once you start getting into that late game, the Zerg composition becomes critical. Ultras are almost essential. A couple of Infestors really needed to tie in the mix. But the Mutalisks in the mid-game, and still now through the 20-minute mark, being just incredibly efficient. There's 38 of them now, and my only concern for Borrex is, has he made too many Mutas? kauP starting Thor production up. That's going to need some great magic boxing on the side of the Mutalisks, but by magic boxing, you spread them out and make them more vulnerable to the quick Marine fire, and especially with 3-3 done on those Marines, their DPS output against Mutas with no armor upgrade is going to be astronomical. So we're still keeping a close eye on what these guys are doing, but kauP, he's on 4 bases, although that may not last so long, because in comes a load of Banelings to this 4th, smashes through, takes out a good number of SCVs, and that is an annoying loss. Simultaneously, an engagement outside the third base of kauP. Big push in here. A single Thor getting some massive volleys of javelin missiles off. The Marines getting even more damage out, and that's very frustrating. But what's more frustrating for kauP is he is about to lose his 4th orbital command. Down it goes exceptionally quickly to these +1 mutas. And while the Thor is getting some good shots out, if there's some magic boxes, it won't matter too much. But those mutas, they don't fare off too well. A lot of them did go down, but there's still 23 on the field. The third base now of kauP being targeted. A couple of Banelings were rolling through there. They could have got some monstrous detonations, but instead running for the infantry. Lings chasing down, and kauP in a massive amount of problems. Needs to make sure that he keeps that Thor alive. That could be his only saving grace, but it's going to be a long shot trying to get this to work. kauP pushing in towards the 4th of his opponent. Going to be able to take out that hatchery. So both players taking some fairly heavy blows. Although, I'd say losing your 3rd and 4th is worse than just losing your 4th. kauP up now, down rather in supply. 108 to 49. Army supply is relatively similar, but just look at that worker count. 73 to 36. Which if there was still 4 orbitals wouldn't be terrible, but there's only 2. kauP though, coming in for the counter push, manages to snipe out the 3rd hatch, and both players see their economy in tatters. Who is going to be able to recover quicker though? Standing armies favor Borrex just. Sitting at 73 to 56 supply. But a Zerg player is going to have slightly better economy, or slightly worse units per kind of resource spent on them. So, as a Terran, you're not going to be terrified of that. 3-3 upgrades aren't even started yet for Borrex, and that's another advantage that kauP has. But the map control is firmly on Borrex's side. He now starts sniping through a lot of these missile turrets, causing a lot of these Marines to fall back just to try and get in some defense. But harassing this isn't the biggest deal, because while there are some minerals here, they're pretty much mined out. In-roll a lot of Banelings, in-roll a lot of Zerglings though, and some nice damage being done. Some great takeouts, and this is just slowly whittling down kauP's army, who's really clinging on. We've got a 5th base now coming through for Borrex, and while his Mutaflock is down to 23, his economy is thriving, whereas kauP, for the moment, is mining nothing. 0 minerals per minute. He's got a little Zergling block here, which is starting a tiny delay. Couple of mutas coming through as well. Big oversaturation at this 3rd base of kauP, who's going to be really struggling as this game goes on. The position of Borrex is phenomenal. Up at 156 supply to 90. His army supply way higher, and with the Ultralisk Cavern coming on through, he's going to be finding himself in quite a cushy position the longer this game goes on. So what can kauP do to stand a chance in this map? He's got to continue on the damage. Probably critical is trying to deny this 5th and ideally the 4th base again. The 5th base is essential though. If that stays up for a good amount of time, I'm going to go out on a limb. To be honest, kauP can't get back in that game if that 5th base stays up. There's just a 3 base or 5 base Zerg with 3 mining bases up against a Terran with just 1 mining base isn't going to fare too well. The mutas now pushing straight through. They're tanking up a little bit of Marine fire in order to secure the kill on that natural orbital command. Great little pick off. If we check up, all of the army of kauP had to be pulled back in order to defend against that. And Borrex is playing a fantastic game at the moment. Kindness plating coming through. The 3-3 upgrades also on their way, as well as the +3 air attack. And with the investors now hitting the field as well, this is where some good fungals can really shut out a huge amount of kauP's army. A couple of drones getting slaughtered here as they just try and go about their daily mining. And the drop was quite successful. But Borrex has still killed more workers so far this game. He's up in the worker count 60 to 29. There's not much of a need actually for kauP to produce any more than that, because with only 1 mining base, he really doesn't have too much in the way of an income. So Banelings and Lings running forward, defending this little bit of pressure. I don't believe the Ultralisks have yet been shown And the Ultralisk Cavern definitely hasn't been seen yet. Because of this, kauP isn't fully aware what kind of army composition he's going up against. And due to that, there's only one Marauder in his composition. And Marauders really are key in dealing with Ultras. Ultras, fantastic up against Marines. And that's because once Chitinous Plating kicks in, they go up to having 5 armor. Once they get +3, they get 6. 6 armor. Even +3 Marines don't deal that much damage against them. And now in come the Balings, though. There is just a lot of Zerg here. The Thors get taken down. One at the back. Some great fungal growth. They're going to allow these Ultras to close the distance. kauP down to 1/3 of his opponent's supply. And this is looking amazing now for Borrex. The Mutas can deal with this. GG is called. And Borrex takes game number 1 of this best of 3.